Yeah, I think
I'm
we
very
we
bad.
had lost connection for a minute there. Yeah.
Yeah, my phone just decided to have its moment.
Gotcha.
Right. And also, I heard a thing online, but I wanted to check officially. Is
Okay.
it true that a Droom or like duo abilities, it's CMC when cascading, it's the combined cost? Just
Yeah,
because you
so
get
here's how rooms work is when you cast a room, you choose one of the two sides and it has the characteristics of that side on the stack. So if you are casting the room, it only has the
Mhm.
characteristic on the stack of the chosen side, right? But
Yes.
in every other zone other than the stack or on the battlefield, it by default has the characteristics of both sides, which includes the total mana value. So now what Cascade does is Cascade doesn't say cast a card. It says exile it first. And then if it has lesser mana value than what you're cascading, you may cast it for free. Right. So it looks at it looks at each card as you're exiling it and checks the mana value. So in the moment that that room is exiled, the total mana value is the total of the two rooms.
It's 7, right?
Right. Now
Yes.
if you are cascading with a number big enough that it sees that total mana value, like if your mana value is 7 there and you're cascading looking for something with 8 or less, then sure, you can cast that room. You're still only going to get one side of it, but you can do it in that instance. But if you have a 7 mana value total room and you're looking for something mana value 4 or less, you can't cast that room. You have to keep exiling.
Right, right. Just because I heard again that let's say cascade into 4 and you get into one of the rooms, but then you have the access into the other one if you want to cast that. So you have the access to both in that instance. So that's why it's the combined one,
Right. Right.
not just into one and two. Right. So cascade indeed checks both on into rooms and dual
Right.
spell abilities.
Yeah. And then also just to kind of clarify, because you have that adventure card out there as well. The same thing with the adventure as far as, but it doesn't combine the mana values, right? Because it only sees so like that bright cap
It's
badger there,
it's the
it only
badger.
sees that. But if you cascade into it, you have the option to either cast the badger or the adventure as long as whichever one you're deciding on still fits in that cascade number.
Right.
So you
All
can
right. Yeah.
cascade into the badger and cast the instant as your cascaded spell, and it'll exile itself afterwards, and you can recast the badger later. But yeah,
So, the new Ashling commander has been eroded multiple times. Yes. I'm trying
you're
to
talking about
figure it out.
from the elemental deck, the
Yeah, the new Ashling the Limitless. It's easier to less glare on it like that. I haven't even looked at the Oracle text. I just remember hearing about it. Um,
yeah, I'm looking
but
it up right
basically,
now.
my main question will be doubling seasons on the field. I make a copy of an elemental that I evoke after it's sacrificed, correct? So then I would make two of them, and I'm wondering, do I sacrifice one and keep one because one was made with Ashling's
Let
ability
me
and
see.
one
All
was
right, so
made with doubling seasons ability?
elemental spells you cast from your hand have evoke 4. Whenever you sacrifice a non-token elemental, create a token that's a copy of it. The token gains haste till end of turn. At the beginning of your next end step, sacrifice it unless you pay that mana. All right. So
Okay.
so here's how that works. Is the way that like token doublers like doubling season,
Mandrakes and
parallel
Nav.
lives, all those kinds of things work, right? Is when a token creation event happens, right? So a token creation event is going to give you three main pieces of information, right? It's going to give you the type of tokens to make, right? It's going to give you the number of tokens to make, and then any additional instructions, right? So, additional instructions are things like, you know, these tokens enter tapped and attacking, or things like that, right? But also any delayed triggers that apply to the token creation event. If the number, if you're changing one aspect of these three things, all of the rest of it still apply as normal. So, for example, if I'm making a token that comes in tapped and attacking, but I have a doubling season out, I'm making 2 tokens that come in tapped and attacking, right? So, what happens here with your interaction with Ashling is if you have a doubling season out and you sacrifice a non-token elemental, Ashling says, I'm going to make 1 token that's a copy of that. Doubling season tells Ashling, actually, you're going to make 2 tokens that are copies of that. Ashling goes, all right, cool. So I changed the number, right? The types remain the same. The number changes to double of the original, but the additional instructions remain the same.
Still there.
Right. So creating that delayed trigger, telling it to sacrifice it, I think, what was it, at the end of the turn? I think?
Yeah, unless the payroll word.
Right. So, or sorry, the next end step, right?
Okay, now let's go a little deeper. Let's say I have a greater good on the field.
Greater good, sack a creature to draw a card and discard 3?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I evoke an elemental.
Yep.
While its evoke triggers on the stack, I sacrifice it to the greater good, and because I'm sacrificing it, Ashling still makes a copy of it, right?
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah. Because you Ashling doesn't care why you sacrificed it. Ashling just cares that you sacrificed it.
Yeah, she doesn't care that the sacrifice trigger is coming.
Whether you sacrifice it to the evoke or whether you sacrifice it to some other effect like the cost of activating greater good, Ashling sees it and makes you a token. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
But I've got a quick question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, right now, what just happened? I walked in Exalted Sunborn.
Sure, token doubler, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I had the 6th Doctor out. I played Helm.
6th Doctor is the one that when you cast a historic spell, it copies it once per turn, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got a Leyline of Anticipation for being able to do it on other people's turns.
I run a 6th Doctor deck. I do the same thing, trying to do that on everyone's turn. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Leyline of Anticipation is also my 4th Doctor. Solely because there's so many do once per turn triggers.
Sure.
Anyway, Helm of the Host entered, or Helm of the Host cast.
Okay.
I copied it. The copy enters first. There's a Primal Vigor on board, so I create 4 tokens that are copies.
You do not. Hang on, let me explain that real quick. So, 6th Doctor copies the spell on the stack, and then as that copy of the spell resolves, it resolves in the form of a token, but you did not actually create any tokens. So none of the token doubling effects interact with copying the spell on the stack.
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Yeah. It's been a thing that I've had to make a lot of people sad with all those things. 6th Doctor, Volo, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
I've got Volo in this deck as well. Oh.
Yeah. Like, Twinning Staff works perfectly with 6th Doctor, but token doubling effects don't.
Yeah. Alright, well, this whole deck is token doubling and creating token copies of legendary creatures.
Yeah.
Alright, well, that's really good to know. Yeah.
All right.
But if I attach Helm of the Host to Exalted Sunborn,
sure.
move to combat, I'll create. They all enter at the same time, don't they?
They do enter at the same time, but they won't see each other for the purpose of doubling the token. So what's happening here is that all of those effects, like the Sunborn, doubling season, primal, all those things, right? That say if you would make 1 or more tokens, make twice that many instead, or anything like that. That is that's a replacement effect. Now, this is not the same as having a trigger. So, like, if multiple creatures enter the battlefield at the same time and they have triggers that care about other creatures entering, they see each other because they all entered simultaneously and get those triggers all at the same time. A replacement effect, it doesn't wait for something to happen and then does something. It modifies an event while it's happening, which means it has to already be there while the event is happening. Right, so the Sunborn that is currently in play will see you creating tokens and say double the number of tokens, so you'll make 2 more Sunborns with that Helm, right? But the Sunborns that haven't been made yet don't see the token creation event, so they don't get to apply. Right, so you're only going to get 2 Sunborns with that particular interaction. Now, with future if you have another token doubler, then yes, you'll get 4. But I'm just saying the Sunborns that are about to come in do not interact with their own token creation event.
Yeah. All right.
But what about the tokens that are coming in from Primal Vigor?
No, because Primal Vigor and Sunborn those are not triggers that happen separately. Those are replacement effects that modify the token creation event. So then they both change the number of tokens, right? So one will change the number of 1 to 2, and the other one changes the number 2 to 4, but that's modifying the same event as it's happening. It's different than if it would be like triggers that say, one makes a token and then the other one makes a separate token creation event. All they're doing is modifying the Helm's token creation event before they officially create the tokens. Right, while they're creating the tokens. That's why with both of those in play, it'll turn 1 to 2 and 2 to 4. But again, all of those tokens are not yet in play to see any of that token creation event. They'll apply to future token creations, but not the one in which they are being created. Go ahead. What you got?
So, how does the Blight interaction work with effects that sacrifice at instant speed?
Gotcha.
Like,
so
for example,
so you're
I
saying
had
like if you were to blight my creature and it was like a Sakura Tribe Elder and it gets 0 toughness, do I get to sacrifice it before it dies, right?
All right. So I had a Grim out.
Okay.
And I had a 1/1 zombie out, and I got blighted. I chose the 1/1 zombie out, and on the stack, I also added the sacrifice to untap Grin. Would that work like instant versus instance, and my stack result first, the second one fizzles?
No.
Would I
So
have to choose new
so what's
target?
happening is, unless you are specifically targeting a creature, right? Like if there were an effect that said blight target creature, then you would be able to respond to that target by sacrificing the creature, no problem. But blight generally just says choose a creature and put that many -1/-1 counters on it, which means you are not choosing which creature is getting blighted until you are resolving the blight effect. So if you only have the zombie and your other creature, and you have to blight something, if you choose the zombie, that means you are resolving the blight effect, right? And then if that blight is enough to bring the zombie's toughness to 0, it dies to state-based actions before you get priority to sacrifice it. So now if you say, okay, well, I have to blight something, in response I'm going to sacrifice this zombie, even if you intended to choose that zombie, it is not there as a choice as you're resolving the blight, so you have to choose the only other one that's left.
Yeah.